Hey guys, SugarDX here. So yeah, most of you know, I actually did post my Cruel Dragon with Novel Vic deck recently. So yeah, this time it's gonna be a Novel Vic with Blast Bug deck. So I did playtest with this deck a bit, but because I'm selling this deck tomorrow, so I don't actually have more time to playtest with it. But so far when I've been playtesting, it does work pretty well. It does run pretty well. In this deck, Blastbug is actually the main vanguard, and Novel Vic is more of a utility and more of a last resort kind of card. So yeah, let's get to the deck profile, and I'll explain on the way. So yeah, starter, as usual, Conroe. Conroe is basically a 2-box card. He 2 boxes grade 1s and grade 0s from your deck. So basically anything that you need, like negates or bars or even Ermos, if you require them, you can use Conroe to take them out. His skill essentially is when something rides on top of him, he moves to the rear guard, and his other skill is Counterblast 1 and discard this unit, and you may 2-box for your deck. So yeah, 1 Conroe for your starter. Next up would be 4 grade 4s, Draconic Novel Vic. Most of you should know his skill by now, the extremely OP grade 4. His first skill is a Personal Blast, Counter Blast 3 is Soul Blast 3, and you can wipe your opponent's whole field. His next skill would be a Silent Tom. So basically, your opponents cannot Noble Guard with grade 0s during your turn when this unit attacks. And his third skill would be when your opponent damage checks a trigger, he may not activate it, which means that yeah, if your opponent is at 6 damage and he drive checks a heal, he does not live, which is kind of sad because it takes away the luck kind of factor. But yeah, and his fourth skill is when this guy is on the rear guard, he gets minus 1k, so he is a 12k base on the rear guard, which is it's pretty good. Only 12k attackers can probably get rid of it. So yeah, 4 of these guys. These guys in this deck, like I said just now, they're more of utilities instead of the key card. I only I only do ride this guy if I'm out of counterblast. So his first skill usually I don't go for it. Okay, next up for my grade 3s, I play floor 4 Blastbug. So Blastbug is the key card of the deck. His skill is Lay Break 4. Counterblast 1 and drop a Kagero from your hand. So basically discard it. And this unit gets plus 5k and 1 crit. On top of that, his second skill is when this unit gets plus 5k, when this unit gets 2 crit or more, so basically when your first effect goes off, he gets another plus 5k. So this skill is kind of interesting because it can be stacked. So this skill can be used like during situations such as when your opponent is at 3 damage, and you can counterblast 2 and drop 2 cards, and your opponent will be forced to not take the damage because if he wants to live, he can't take it, but yet he cannot limit break the next turn. So yeah, that's pretty lethal. And stuff like when your opponent's at 4 damage, counterblast 1 each turn, just to pressure your opponent, because some of your opponents do like to take the damage when they're at 4. So with this counterblasting, it's kind of limited for them. So yeah, I play for these guys. Okay, next up would be the Berserk Dragon clone. I play for Critics, Novel Critics. Basically, their skill is Counterblast 1, show the grade 4 to your opponent, and you can retire a grade 2 or less rearguard. So yeah, it's basically a more Counterblast efficient Berserk Dragon. So yeah, it's pretty good. Following that would be 4 Bellicosities. I'm usually not a big fan of Unflippers. I'm not usually not a big fan of playing more than 3 Unflippers. Yeah, but I do think that Unflippers in this deck are extremely high pressure. Because of Blast Bug skill, Counterblast is pretty needed. So Bellicosity actually helps you to pressure your opponent really well. And behind the 8k he attacks for 17, and behind the 7k he attacks for 16. So he does attack 11k Vanguards well. He does have the magic number. And on top of that, this guy will be your ideal Vanguard in this, usually in this deck. I usually have Bellicosity as my ideal Vanguard because usually during grade 2 turn you'll probably have used usually a Gatling Claw or a Novel Critic, or even using your Control skill. So Bellicosity does help you to unflip that damage if he is in the Vanguard, because your opponent will most likely take the damage. So yeah, 4 Bellicosities. And lastly, your second kind of like your backup Vanguard would be 3 Nahalims. So basically they are good rear guards and they are good backup vanguards, so yeah, it's pretty fine. So yeah, 3 Nahalims. I actually tried playing Strikers in this deck, but Strikers didn't work well at all, and it's kind of like a burden in the deck if you play Strikers. So yeah, I decided to take it out and replace it with Nahalims. So next up I have 4 Negates. Negates are really essential in any deck, so yeah, play 4. You have to live in order to, you know, unleash your power on your enemies, so yeah, 4 Negates. Next up, another utility card that requires the grade 4, so yeah, another card that requires him. Novel Roman. This guy is the only reason why people who are playing this deck build play 4 grade 3s and 4 grade 4s. With this guy, you can put this guy back into the deck. So yeah, reshuffle this guy, and you can search your deck for a grade 3 or higher unit. So if you are grade locked, like your hand only has grade 1, grade 2s and grade 4s, you can use your skill to find a Blast Spark. So yeah, it's pretty good, and it helps, you know, for the consistency of the deck. And he's also a 7k base, so yeah, it's pretty good. Next up we have 4 Bars. Bars, your generic 8k attacker. Yeah, he does boost for high numbers, and if you need him as an attacker, he can move up. So yeah, Bar is good. And lastly, 2 Ermos. I actually tried playing Ryopias and the 10k booster for these guys, but I didn't really like them because, you know, of their conditional skills. So yeah, I do prefer Ermos because sometimes you might want to, you know, just try to recycle your hand, and it just helps to, you know, especially when you are in the grade 4 state. Yes, it really helps to just, you know, just help you to get rid of all your useless cards, since you can't get rid of any more useless cards with Blast Spark. So Ermo tends to help. And so now for the trigger lineup, I play 4 crits, 3 more crits, so 7 crits in total. For draws, Gatling Claw is a must. If you have him in your starting hand, I would suggest that you do not reshuffle him. I mean, depending on how good your hand is, because he does help you to get rid of your opponent's starting vanguards. So yeah, it's pretty useful. And 1 more draw. So yeah, I play 5 draws in this deck. 5 draws, 7 crits. Crits are mainly for when you run out of Color Blast and you switch to him, and your opponent's at 5 damage, 4 damage, and you manage to crit him. So yeah, this guy is useful in that case. And for the draws are more for Blast Spark, because when you're in Blast Spark form, you do need the hand. So yeah, draws are really essential. And lastly, of course, for heals. So this deck runs quite differently from the Cruel Dragon build. So okay, give me a moment. So for this deck, let's say, because you have your starter, and your starter is Conroe. Okay, so for your grade 1, right, most of the time you either choose this guy or this guy as your ideal right target. Depending on the situation, if you do not have a grade 3, and you have a great four in your hand, this guy is the ideal ride. Um, Especially if you don't have anything else such as bars, he is pretty good. Bar on the other hand, if everything is going smoothly, a good 8k base from the start is pretty essential. So yeah, either these two guys. Corner moves to the back. Okay, so yeah, next up for grade 2s, for example, you use Gatling skill, you counterblast 1, you put into the soul, and you retire something. In that case, obviously riding Bellicosity would be the best, or your backup Vanguard Nahalem would suffice as well. So yeah, next up would probably be for Ermo. I like it to be behind the Vanguard early game, and behind my rearguard in the late game. So yeah, it does help occasionally, but playing 2 means it doesn't come out much, and it does. Don't want it to come out much, mainly because he's only a 6k base. So yeah, which is kind of sad. Next up, for the grade 3s, you only have one choice, Blastbug. For Blastbug, use his skill wisely because of his kind of heavy cost, and stack it wisely as well. So yeah, only use it when it's necessary. And lastly, when you're out of Counter Blast, right into the grade 4 and try to just end your opponent there with triggers if you're lucky enough and stuff like that. So yeah guys, thanks for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, do feel free to comment or PM me. Up next, I will be doing a Draconic Lawkeeper combined with Draconic Overlord. So basically it's the double rare build of this set. So yeah, look out for that guys, and yep, so thanks for watching, bye.